Welcome back to part 2 of Are Young Professionals Equipped for the World of Work? Last week, I shared a few stories ripped from the headlines about boomers being fed up with Gen X and Gen Z coworkers. And I also reminisced on how fed up I once was at people who were twice my age. You see, it really does work both ways. Different generations are often in conflict with one another until they recognize that the other has something to teach them. It's one thing to be annoyed with a family member. It's something altogether different on the job. And then it's even more difficult in small business because, as I've said here many times here on the podcast, in small business, everything is personal. So let's have a look at what's happening and see if we can help our young people to be better prepared to move into this next chapter of their lives, where they're building a career, preferably in your small business. And I'll also be sharing 5 things that you can do to help your younger team members better understand their value at work. Welcome to the Stacking Your Team podcast. Thanks for tuning in and following your curiosity to learn and honor your personal conviction to be the best leader you can be. On this podcast, you won't hear a bunch of theories presented by academics who haven't been in a workplace in years or ever, and you'll not hear from executives who are flush with capital, people, and pool tables in their cafeteria telling you how to build team culture. Nope. Why? Because you are a small business owner and you've built something great out of nothing. And through it all, you've learned that you need a team, but not just any team. I'm your host, Shelli Warren. I've led winning teams in retail, innovative technical teams at a Fortune 50 corporation for decades, not-for-profit boards, and in online business, and helped many remote teams win at work. And I can tell you that no one escapes team troubles, including me. These days, I'm the CEO of Stacking Your Team, where I teach and develop tools for small business owners so they can attract, retain, and develop their teams so the founder can step out of her day-to-day operation. I'm so happy you're here because we all know that the people side of running your business is often the most difficult, and the team that got you here may not be the team that gets you there. So come on, let's jump in to today's episode. Some of the glaring differences in the world of work today is that there is no guarantee of long-term employment. Our young people have seen their parents, aunts, and uncles lose long-standing careers through massive downsizing, and they lived through the disruption it caused their families or their friends' families. Is this part of why they have a lower level of loyalty to you? Maybe. Hybrid work and work from home options are a significant part of what type of work our young people want now. These options were scarce for their parents, but the pandemic shattered the long-standing belief that individuals couldn't be relied upon to maintain productivity when working remotely and beyond their direct supervision of their leaders. So it's not surprising that people will ask for and keep asking for these work styles. And many more small business owners are open to looking for a few opportunities to provide work from home days designed to match the needs of the business where it fits. But depending on the type of business and the services that you provide, it simply won't be an option for most people's roles. Another obvious difference between the way the world of work used to be and what it's morphed into is the level of comfortability some people have to push back on doing tasks and activities that they'd prefer not to do. I'm sure you've seen this. On one hand, I'm in awe of anyone who can stand defiantly and refuse to do something. Health and safety risks not included here, of course, because they don't want to do it, or they think that that task should be done by someone else, or even suggest to the business owner that she hire someone else to do these menial tasks. Yikes! My hair is on fire every time I hear about these interactions because I'm in awe of the confidence the person has in this situation. It begs me to ask the question about where their confidence comes from. And where is that same level of confidence when they're being stretched to think more broadly about how best to achieve the results linked to their roles, or to be more creative about solving a problem, or take on the responsibility to train a peer? and they push back, stating that they're overwhelmed and couldn't possibly take on anything else. So I'm perplexed by their unwillingness to believe in themselves and their ability to lean into change because it's what the business and their peers need them to do right now. So is it an outlook issue, an attitude issue, a lack of optimism, or a lack of desire to move at a different pace other than what they're currently comfortable with? Or do they actually regret taking the role with you in the first place? Another recent real-life workplace dilemma, while the world watched, was Brittany Peach, who filmed her termination call and then shared it on TikTok. It went viral, spread over onto other platforms, and thousands of people weighed in on it. Her employer was Cloudflare, a tech company that sells web security software. And it felt to me like Brittany was part of a large sales team that was being downsized. A client gave me the heads up about this on LinkedIn, and I watched the 9-minute video recording in awe of Brittany's ability to stay calm, albeit she was prepared because many of her team members had already been through the termination call and they gave her a heads up. She had time to converse with her peers, commiserate, and plan her response. And she did. She stood her ground, asking why she was being fired, demanding to know why her manager was not present on the call, and asked multiple times for the data to back up those 2 HR reps for their decision to terminate her. They couldn't or wouldn't comply, and Brittany did a great job of holding back her tears. She kept saying that she worked really hard and that she had many calls with potential clients. She kept saying that her manager had praised her for her hard work and those calls with potential clients, especially as she was in the middle of an on-ramp, which I understood to be a timeline for her onboarding into this role. She also mentioned that her on-ramp period included the holidays. I took that to mean that she didn't have as many sales calls because the business was shut down for the holidays. But here's what I saw. Number 1, it was not clear to Brittany that she was being held accountable to convert those calls into paying customers. Number 2, her manager is a jerk because he failed Brittany and her peer group by not being crystal clear about what they were being paid to do. And number 3, those HR reps were so scripted and stayed at a definite arm's length away from anyone that they were having these termination calls with, that they came across as being AI avatars. There was a definite vibe that they were outsourced to host these termination calls. So brutal. So are you wondering what happened next? Well, first up, Cloudflare's CEO, Matthew Prince, responded to the viral video, taking to X, formerly Twitter, to write out a reply and say Brittany's video was painful to watch. He wrote, "We fired 40 salespeople out of over 1,500 in our go-to-market organization. That's a normal quarter." He went on to say, "When we're doing performance management right, we can often tell within 3 months or less of a sales hire, even during the holidays, whether they're going to be successful or not." He also said, "We think the right thing to do is to get people we know are unlikely to succeed off the team as quickly as possible so they can find the right place for them." He said a lot more, but that was the gist of it all. Oh, and this statement. Firing Brittany, that wasn't the mistake here. The mistake was not being more kind and humane as we did it. What else happened? Brittany got hundreds of requests to meet her to talk about potential job opportunities because people were impressed with her demeanor on the video. I'm guessing she found jobs for her besties too. But here's the watch out. I certainly hope that wherever Brittany ends up, that she keeps asking for clarification about what she's being paid to do, why it matters, and how best to do it. That way, she won't be blindsided again. But that will take people in leadership roles, training roles, and mentorship roles to host these kinds of conversations and offer tools and frameworks so the team member can gauge their own progress in addition to giving them straightforward feedback all the way through, not just once a year or once a quarter. So let's circle this all back to you. You are a small business owner who has young professionals on your team. Some of them are in leadership roles, and some of them are vying to be considered for promotions into those leadership roles. Some are outstanding and outperforming their peers, even their long-standing peers who've been with you for a while. Others are underperforming and confused about why things aren't going the way they want at work. One thing I'm sure you've seen with your underperforming team members is that they can often get self-esteem best practices mixed up with boundaries at work. Here's what I mean by that. In our personal lives, it's always a good idea to have boundaries that protect our mental well-being and our physical well-being too. Boundaries such as deciding not to smoke or overindulge in alcohol or ending certain relationships because you know it triggers anxious thoughts and self-doubt. Those are great boundaries to have, as they should become promises that you make to yourself and stay committed to as you move through different stages of your life to take better care of yourself. At work, putting up boundaries is different. Here's what I mean by that. Over the years, I've had a few men at work speak inappropriately to me out of anger, frustration, or worry, and I pushed back, putting up a boundary whereby I told them calmly that they might be able to talk to their sister or their wife like that, but they wouldn't be speaking to me like that, and reinforced that I was prepared to hold them accountable to it. They stopped every time. That kind of pushback was deemed reasonable, and the guys understood that it was the right thing to do for them and me. Now, here's a boundary that doesn't bode well at work. Telling your peers or leaders that you will not be available to work past your regular hours, so don't ask, ever. And yet often inform those same peers and leaders that you'll be flexing your hours this week due to a personal appointment. Can you see how tilted this is? It clearly demonstrates that you're not willing to be flexible for the needs of the business or your peers, but you expect them to be for you. No questions asked. Now, it's never easy to ask for what you feel you need, but we can do it in such a way that people are open to listening to your request. A common pushback from our young team members is all about workload and expectations. Most of them admit that they didn't really know what they were getting into, and many of them find it difficult to manage their time, tasks, and projects. So it's more about not having a way to do their work that keeps them feeling overwhelmed. Executive functioning skills are becoming more and more important to master outside of school. They're a must if you're going to feel competent and on top of your work plan. For some people who struggled with executive functioning skills in school and had an ed therapist to show them how to better manage their time and planning, it would be just as beneficial, maybe even more so, if they had an ed therapist to help them now too. Small business owners need to keep an eye out for this gap and consider bringing in an ed therapist to host lunch and learns or offer one-to-one coaching to help turn someone's performance around, improving how they feel at work and actually lessening their overwhelm. For most of us, regardless of our age, our past predicts our future. So if we were that type of person who excelled at sports and school because we had discipline, commitment, and drive, it's likely that we're going to be the same way at work. On the other hand, if we were the type of person who required others to push us, hold us accountable, and follow through, it's likely we're going to be the same way at work. That's why I'm such a fan of the paid trial and the paid project, and of course, those darn reference checks. We've got to find out before someone joins your team if you can predict their success and give them a chance to try you out too. So as we close out for today, let's talk about what you can do to help your young team members better understand their value at work. Number 1, provide 5-hour work plans that show them exactly what they're being paid to do. Not just the outcomes, but the requirements of your standards and workflows so that they know exactly what it takes to deliver the results that they're being held accountable to. Number 2, give each person a mentor who can have those straight-up conversations about what teamwork means at your workplace and what it looks like to be seen as a valuable team member with you versus their former employment or school experience. That mentor needs to act as a bridge between whatever life experiences they had and what it means now to be out in the world of work, earning a paycheck and a reputation. Thirdly, make it normal to talk about results, both individual and team results. And while you're at it, make it normal to talk about costs. What it costs to run the business every day. what it costs to keep the doors open, including what it costs to stay relevant in your niche. Remember, they're already worried about long-term career opportunities with you. So be transparent and optimistic about what the future looks like for all of you. Number 4, provide psychological safety to openly talk about where they're struggling in their role and also teach them to own their next best steps with some coaching from their direct leader who is committed to helping them overcome these challenges, especially when they see that the person is actively listening and trying to improve. And number 5, make it normal to talk about compelling business needs and why their role is important and where their role fits into the overall structure of the business, including your pay curve. Reduce their anxiety and ramp up their commitment by rolling out a pathway for them to build a career with you. At our most recent retreat in Nashville, I rolled out a new tool for our clients in the Leadership Lab that directly impacts point number 5, because it's too darn common for small businesses to lose great talent because those individuals simply don't see a long-term future there. So they keep ladder jumping or moving into corporate or back into corporate life. Another way this tool can help small business owners is that it takes the guesswork out of knowing how to meet the criteria to be considered for promotions in your small business. So instead of young team members constantly asking for a pay raise, claiming they know their worth, they can better understand what they need to do to earn it and then maintain it, which undoubtedly will help them feel secure, seen, heard, and thriving as they bring and then build on their unique skill set and life experiences to the table. If you'd like to create a culture of learning for your team, why not consider enrolling them into the Leadership Lab Team Leader Program? They'll get very relevant on-demand training, a resource library designed to help them excel as a highly valued team member, and they'll also get access to our private community for real-time support, and a quarterly live training call, and then, of course, our highly popular monthly drop-in Q&A calls with me, all at a very affordable price. The people side of running your business is often the hardest, so why not get some quality help and move into this year better prepared for more growth, instead of dealing with team turnover, disappointments, and overpaying for mediocre performance. I'm here to help you. You can get the details and book a call with me over at the website, stackingyourteam.com. Leadership can be exciting, challenging, and lonely at times, so don't go it alone. Let me help you create the team and the leadership structure that you've been craving. So until next time, remember, if you have a dream, you need a team. So let's get stacking yours today.